it's the next level.
Star-Lord, I'm a huge fan of your work. What are you doing here?
That was not the reaction I was expecting.
Hey, stop! Show some respect! This is the Star-Lord, legendary outlaw, steals from the powerful and gives to the powerless. Should we be bowing? I feel like we should be bowing. I mean, unless we should be kneeling.
Neither is necessary.
Please, you are a lord.
It is not an official title, nor is it one I am comfortable with.
Of course you will be humbled. Classic Star-Lord.
Hey panelers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this is going to be a spoiler-full podcast about the second episode of Marvel's What If on Disney+. And what we're covering this week is What If T'Challa Became Star-Lord. And it's also Steve Brown's birthday, and we have to wish Mr. Steve Brown a happy birthday.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, we are recording this on my birthday, so it's kind of fun.
It is fun. And unfortunately, mine is about 5 days later. So.
I was going to say, you're the same month. You're just a few days away, so a little bit younger, but not much.
A little bit younger,
I got you by a couple years.
Yep, you do. But do you want to start us off with the synopsis?
Sure. The synopsis for this one is what would have happened if T'Challa and not Peter Quill was picked up by Yondu as a child and became Star-Lord.
Yes.
Pretty simple and to the point.
To the point, and let's move right along into our initial thoughts.
Yeah, what did you think, Mark?
I thought it was an awesome episode. I loved it. The first watch, I was really glued to the set and laughing. I just loved that T'Challa was not the buffoon that Peter Quill was. I love that I got to hear Chadwick Boseman again. It was amazing. But the character is the complete opposite of Peter Quill.
Yeah.
Way smarter than Peter in every way. I loved how Thanos changed his ways due to T'Challa's influence, and that Nebula has a little thing for T'Challa at the same time, too. I thought it was pretty cool. Very cool. And also that the fact that Nebula is very, very different. She's a long-haired blonde. She doesn't have as much, stuff that they enhanced on her and everything else that Thanos was doing and torturing her. And the humor overall.
Come on now, you're taking away my points, man. Come on.
The humor all over honestly was spot on for me.
Yeah,
But
it was really good.
Yeah,
I loved it, man. It blew me. It completely blew me away. I was so impressed, and last week's was not a huge change to the multiverse. It was a change to that particular timeline.
Yeah.
But it was basically the same story as Captain America: The First Avenger, pretty much, with a little tweaks. But this one was hugely different from one little thing to where
completely
characters
changed.
That one little change had this huge implications for the entire universe. And I'll say it now, if it's one of your points, I'm sorry that I'm stealing it. The ending was great. From the moment I saw Kurt Russell's name in the credits, I was waiting for him to show up. And I was just like, what? How are they going to work Ego into this story if they didn't pick up the correct Peter Quill? And then, of course, we get him at the very end. And I thought that was just wonderful.
Well, we always need Jack Burton or Snake Plissken in a movie, you know that.
Exactly.
Even though he is Ego, the living planet.
So I went first last week, Mark, so I think you should start this week.
All right.
With your top five.
All right, cool. So we'll move right along into our top fives.
No, because it's random. And I might add, efficient.
Oh, Dad.
I mean, if you really wanted to put a label on it, T'Challa and I are best friends.
And my number 5 would be, I just love the whole twist in the story. Apparently Yondu outsourced his subordinates to get Ego's lost son from Earth, and they happened onto T'Challa, thinking it was Peter Quill due to the power coming from that area, and screwed it all up. It made me laugh, and I'm like, oh, all humans look alike.
Yeah.
And then,
It was great.
yeah, and Kraglin was the reason for this too, of all things. And Kraglin's got some good teeth too at this point. And they loved the kid and with Yondu, and they kept him. And basically did the same thing with Peter, but in a different way, if you think about it. They embraced it, whereas Peter was always fighting back, and with T'Challa, he wasn't fighting back. They embraced his mind, his philosophy, his thoughts, and everything, and created a family. But very similar to what happened with Peter, Yondu lied about going back to Earth and stated that Wakanda was destroyed, which kept him and them, and they just, continued with that family.
Yeah.
But later on, we do see what happened, and the truth does come out, but it doesn't really change anything, and I really enjoyed that fact.
Yeah. Yeah, this was my number 5 as well, was just the fact that what did he say? 2 ear holes, 2 sea holes, 1 eat hole, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's all they saw of T'Challa, and he like shows a picture of him. It's clearly like a totally different kid, but anyway. So yeah, I just love that it was just hilarious, that whole thing. Like you said, the outsourcing of it, and that was the little change that caused everything to go different. And we're going to talk about some more of those changes and the huge effect that they had on not just the universe, but I mean, like I was saying at the beginning, the last episode basically affected 1 movie, maybe 2 movies, because it was her coming out of the instead of Loki. But this one changed. I mean, how many of our original MCU movies got changed because of this What If?
Hugely. Endgame.
Yeah.
Endgame literally ended.
War. Yeah, exactly.
Is this one of the millions of things that Doctor Strange actually saw in Endgame when he was looking through all the timelines?
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
So what's your number 4?
My number 4, that would be the intro to the show, with the same sort of intro from a Star-Lord that had to get the Power Stone from the same place as Peter. We in the original Guardians of the Galaxy, we see Peter. He has to go get the Power Stone, and he goes through all these things. He does his little dance moves. In this case, T'Challa actually shows up, does his thing, gets it, and just like with Peter in the first movie that we see, then we were introduced with Peter Quill, T'Challa is, attacked by some guys, but they're the same exact guys that you saw in the first Guardians movie. But in this case, instead of him saying, and they just recognized him as Star-Lord, whereas Peter Quill had to announce who he was, and they didn't have a clue. Who? The legendary outlaw, man. And obviously with this, it's like, oh my god, I love you. Oh, classic. Oh, that's classic Star-Lord. And it's like, oh, no, that is the point. You must hit me. It's like all these cool little things and references. It was amazing, and I just loved it. But yeah, the fact that, T'Challa was like applauded for his work and respected, and somebody wanted to be part of his crew at that point. Then obviously with Yondu, is working with T'Challa at that point, and they wind up getting this guy, and he goes, "Oh, I've recruited worse."
Yeah, I loved it. This is again, we're hitting some of the very same beats here.
Yeah,
I loved that switch around in that scene to where Korath, in the first Guardians movie, Korath is like, who? And in this one, he's like, you're Star-Lord, you're and all this. And I love how through the dialogue, we learn that he had basically convinced the Ravagers to become Robin Hood, and start stealing from the rich and giving to the poor and helping people out. And that just the idea, and I'll talk some more about these changes later on, but just the whole idea of the Ravagers that we saw in the Guardians movie and in Volume 2, even when they're on that planet, they're all kind of mercenaries, and some of them are kind of anti-heroes, kind of good, kind of bad.
Yeah.
But this one, they're straight up Robin Hoods, and I just loved it. I was so impressed that the character change in Yondu is just incredible. You know, he went from being this surly, mean, but he's the same skill level. Like
Yes.
you see him take down all those guys outside
Yeah.
of the when T'Challa says Ravagers never fly solo. You know, I'm taking my quotes away now, but yeah,
That's fine.
it was great to see how T'Challa himself, the character, was able to change these other characters in this What If and in this world.
Yes.
And we'll probably talk about some more of them as we go along.
Well, and to speak about this with the people that were voicing, we got Rooker back, we got Sean Gunn back, we got obviously Chadwick Boseman. This is the last thing that we're probably ever going to hear him in, and he did such a great job, and it was more life within him in that character for this particular episode in his voice, and I was just smiling ear to ear because I was so glad to hear him. But we also get Taserface too. And a whole bunch of slew of others that we'll go into as we talk, but I really enjoyed hearing all those character voices as we went through, because a lot of the MCU actors came back to revoice their characters, which I'm really enjoying.
Yeah.
And I must actually admit, I did make a mistake last week. I said that Chris Evans did the voice. It wasn't. It was somebody else, and Derek from TV Podcast Industries actually stated it, and I didn't listen to it till like a few days later, and it wasn't him. And a lot of other people did not come back. Dave Bautista did not come back either. And that, I think, had to do with the James Gunn issue with Marvel at one point when he was fired, and now he's rehired. And obviously we got Suicide Squad, but we didn't get Dave Bautista. But we have a lot more people that we do enjoy that we've seen on film that are voicing their characters from the MCU within this particular episode, and it's amazing. I just loved it for that fact, because it's like a familiar voice, and you just could get into it. The animation was great, but I'm stepping all over Steve right now, so he needs to move on.
Yes. We need your number 3, because that wraps up mine. Like I said, I loved. We hear through the dialogue all the good that they had done, and that's really my point. Is that just the fact that T'Challa, through his skills as an orator, you know, he didn't have to fight him. He didn't have to. It was just through. And I've got a quote that I'll read at the end that I love. But so, what's your number 3?
My number 3, I just love the twist of Thanos and company, and how T'Challa changed his mind about taking over the galaxy and causing genocide. And it was an ongoing gag or joke about it when he would discuss it with people. And it was like, yeah, it's still genocide. And everybody keeps talking about that. Okoye actually mentions it, which is so funny. And then, plus the fact that Nebula has a little thing for T'Challa and has a little nickname for him too, Cha-Cha.
Yeah, that was great. I love that the whole running gag with it, and there at the end, especially when they're like, no, that's genocide. He's like, no, because it's random, you know.
Yeah, right. That makes any difference, right?
Yeah, exactly. This was my number 3 as well. But it was slightly different, because I really absolutely loved the sexy looking Nebula that we get in this, and the fact that Karen Gillan voiced her was just incredible, and it was just really, really cool. Again, and you already mentioned it, that T'Challa, he must have changed Thanos' mind before he got to Gamora's planet, because we don't have Gamora in this. And we also get to see Drax. We get to see how Drax, and I really like this. I think was maybe my favorite moment to pull out of the episode, is to see the change in Drax's character. As much as I liked him in the movies and what he became after the death of his wife and daughter, in this we see what he would have become if they weren't killed.
Yep.
And we see this happy, he's tending bar. He's not anywhere that the taciturn kind of terse, guy that he is. He's still the same literalist that he always is, but it's there was just a lightness to it that I thought was really, really great. And I wish Dave Bautista had been able to voice him, but that's okay too.
Yeah, it was a fun scene to watch too. By the
Mhm.
way, I just really enjoyed it. It's like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we only take cash here. It's like, oh wait, you're Star Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to take a picture for my wife and my daughter. And then he's like, no, that's bad. I look great. You look terrible.
Yeah, it just was wonderful to see what that character would have become.
Yeah, exactly. And it was such a twist of
Mhm.
fate. And that's what I really enjoyed, because you could see these people in a different light now. And they are family, and it's a different Guardians of the Galaxy if you think about it.
Oh yeah,
All said
totally.
and done, no Rocket, no Groot, and no Gamora, but we have pretty much a gist of the people that were centralized within that movie itself.
Yeah. Really, really good.
So my number 2,
You're number 2.
that would be the triple cross that Nebula puts into place with the Collector. Was it me, or did the Collector look too buff in this particular version?
He absolutely was buffer, and I didn't think about it until I was listening to another podcast talk about it. Is that when he fills that vacuum that Thanos creates by not becoming this kind of crime boss, big bad guy of the universe, he then he's got a bigger collection. He's a bigger guy.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that might be part of the reason we were talking about Benicio del Toro's kind of cadence and how he sounded different, how this Collector sounds different than the Collector from Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, maybe maybe that was a choice by Benicio del Toro, saying, well, how would my character be different if he was this huge crime boss instead of just this kind of, lower level rich guy,
Sniveling, weaseling kind of guy
kinda
in
guy.
nowhere. Yeah.
What would he have become if he was really a crime boss on this other planet? So,
Yeah.
or on nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I also love the whole plan thing coming together regardless of T'Challa finding out that Yondu lied.
Mhm.
Even the plan still went accordingly. Plus, it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
I just love that whole idea. It's like, because T'Challa found forgiveness, whereas with Peter, he probably wouldn't. Because you saw what happened with Ego and everything in the second Guardians movie.
Yeah. Yeah. This plays it's kind of my same number 2 as well. Just the whole plan thing and the triple cross. And, at first I thought, well, I guess the plan didn't work out. But then when you think about it, actually it did work out with the whole triple cross thing, with the fact that Yondu stayed behind to help T'Challa fight the Collector. And it just, again, it's more of these big universe changes that we didn't get from the first episode. It was more, kind of tiny changes,
changes, a little twist of what happened within the story, and just changing one character, or 2 characters at most, or maybe 3, because the Winter Soldier wasn't really changed. He didn't turn into the Winter Soldier.
But I still stand by. I think that was a good introduction to the series, and and I think, like, if we had gotten this one first, it would have just, our minds would have been just blown. And then when we got to episode 2, we would have been kind of deflated. So if they had swapped these, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So I'm really glad that we got this as the number 2, and I can't wait to see what number 3 is going to be.
Yeah, I can't wait for it too. I don't know what it is. I have to look.
So what's your number 1?
Well, that ending scene with Peter Quill working at a shop and cleaning.
Sorry I stole it from you.
It's okay. We have the same one, probably. So, and then we get Ego come to see his son. That made me think right away, there is going to be more to these universes within the show, maybe? Because we do have a season 2, apparently.
Yeah, so we could see what happens when Ego picks up Peter Quill.
Yeah, and with the Multiverse of Madness, we might actually have a crossover point, and maybe crossovers within the actual MCU itself as well, and bring these characters into play within the live action, and that would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So my number one is, you kind of already talked about it a little bit, is I think we would expect T'Challa to forgive Yondu and move past that lie so quickly, because that's his character. That's who he is.
Yes.
Is that he's just going to go, well, that's the past, and I'm not going to dwell on that. And that's even kind of what Yondu says. You can't dwell on the past. You're meant to be an explorer. And I loved that scene with T'Challa and his father, where he tells his father, no, I'm not coming back. Space is where I belong. And even to the point where he stops Yondu from telling the truth.
Exactly.
He just says, oh, I was lost and they found me.
It was a
And
form
I
of
thought
forgiveness to him.
Absolutely. I thought it was just incredible on T'Challa's part.
Oh yeah, it's so, because now he has two families.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we've got some notes.
Yeah, sure. You want to start us off?
Sure. I love that fight between T'Challa, Yondu, and the Collector. All the things kind of in the background, and I'm sure I didn't pick up on all of them, but we see Captain America's shield at one point is in the Collector's collection. Obviously he has that helmet from Hela. Was that Thor: The Dark World, or was that Ragnarok where she had
Ragnarok?
Ragnarok. Okay. So I was mistaken on that. I put in my notes. I thought it was Dark World, but okay. So we see that one for Ragnarok. And it just was really, really good. And just like I said, I can't wait to start watching some of these other breakdown, like Eric Voss and New Rockstars and the Nerdist and all these other breakdowns.
Oh yeah, they go deep dives and they collect all the little bit and tidbits of information and then exploit it, and then your mind is even more exploded after that.
Right. So what's one of yours?
Drax bartending and asking for a picture with T'Challa. That was to me, that was too funny. Yeah, the fact that we get a different Drax. That was the only thing that I could say, because to me it was so funny.
I absolutely loved the different relationship between Nebula and Thanos. In the OG universe, the MC or the MU, she kind of ends up going against him and betraying him. In this one, though, she actually saves him. And there's one point where it was towards the end. It might have been when he was talking about genocide, where she goes, "Dad,"
it was like a father-daughter moment. Yeah. It's like, "Dad, no, don't say that."
It was just really great to see that different kind of relationship. Again, we talked about the changes that had here that is just huge. That I thought was really great.
Next up for me would be Howard the Duck giving the tour of the Collector's place on Nowhere so he can get the embers of Genesis. I thought that was hilarious, for the fact that, even Howard thought, oh, wait, he's going to shoot me. Mm-hmm. Oh, give me a tour. And then and of course, Howard ditches him to get a drink at the bar.
Exactly. For me, I love that Karina, the assistant of the Collector, ends up at the end being the one who's releasing all the other jailed or other collected people, and they're gonna take down the Collector. I thought it was great. In the which one was it, in Avengers or no, in Guardians of the Galaxy? She touches the Infinity Stone and ends up blowing everything up.
Because she felt like she was a slave to the Collector. Yeah, and she wanted to break free. And at this point, she saw something within T'Challa and loved it, and kind of worked in her favor. She didn't die, thankfully. Right. She didn't touch the Power Stone.
She ends up being the one who's going to end up taking down the Collector, which was great.
Yeah. That was an awesome scene too, and she just releases everybody who he collected, and they just attack.
What, do you have some more?
Yeah, I have one more. Actually, two more, but it's pretty funny too. The Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, and the Crazy Beast that we saw in Endgame are now working for the Collector and not Thanos. And Thanos was pretty much aware of this and saying how much of a threat the Collector is. Even he was afraid of the Collector.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought I put it in my notes that the Black Order was now working for the Collector, but I guess I had forgotten to put that in my notes. That was really, really cool to see Maw using his powers and stuff like that. The only other one I have that we haven't already talked about, and you mentioned, I did, man. I choked up a little bit at the dedication to Chadwick Boseman at the end.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that was hard. But the thing is it shows respect to Chadwick Boseman, and I'm glad that
Mhm.
Disney Marvel did that. And it was needed.
yeah.
It really was, and it was done very well.
So do you have any more that we haven't already talked about?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. So we've got some quotes.
Sure, I'll start off. Classic Star-Lord. And that's when T'Challa makes him miss his punch in the holding chamber of the that Infinity Stone, the Power Stone. Star-Lord states, "Now I almost feel bad."
I already said it earlier, but a Ravager never flies solo. I thought was great. We hear that twice in the episode, and just again those little changes that we get of where that Star-Lord is still a member of the Ravagers, but the Ravagers are very different.
Yeah. I just love this. I said it before, but Yondu to Kraglin and Taserface. Does this look like Peter Quill to you? Shows them the image of Peter as a kid, and Taserface goes, "Sure. I don't know. All humans look alike to me."
The next one I've got is I alluded to it earlier when Star-Lord, when they're talking about how he ended up changing Thanos' mind. He says, "Sometimes the best weapon in your arsenal is a good argument."
Yeah.
I think I did a pretty good Chadwick Boseman right there.
That was good. Next one up for me would be Captain Genocide. And that's the new guy. I forget his name from
Korath.
Oh, okay.
Korath. One of the working for the, I guess they were working for the Collector, right?
Yeah, they were, but he traded. He turned traitor and joined the Ravagers.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
the Guardian says this was.
I loved when the Collector is kind of ribbing Yondu about what he's doing now, and Yondu says, "What can I say? We went straight, and I got square." So
And the last one I have would be the Collector going, "Oh, karma." And that's once Karina lets all the Collector's collected people loose on him, and they attack him.
And my last one was, "I was the one who told you I wanted to see the world. You showed me the universe." Again, that's T'Challa to Yondu. That scene you're talking about where they forget. I get goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. And I wasn't even a huge fan of that movie, but
Yeah.
he will be missed.
He will be missed. He did some great work over the years, and he did it while he was sick, and I'm glad that they acknowledge him in this.
So you got some news?
Yes, I do. So, Jim Shooter, who was the original creator of Secret Wars comic back in 1984 to 1985, was asked at a convention panel recently about his involvement with Marvel Disney, and apparently they contacted him in some way. He basically pointed out at a convention, it was a Q&A, and somebody had it on tape, and I heard it on YouTube. He points out that they offered him $10,000 so that they wouldn't have any problems with adapting the storyline for a potential future movie. So back then, all writers and artists were paid by a book. They were just paid by work or their art. If they're a writer, they were paid by story. Artists were paid by their artwork per book. They didn't get residuals. They don't get anything within IP or anything. I think this was a way for Marvel Disney to shut him up, to say anything, or to not invoke any sort of like he could sue them for anything, but he has no right to that IP anyway. But it was a way for them to just like pay him off because they asked him to do some samples and they paid him $10,000 at least. At least he got paid for it. But that's basically, I think, their way of covering themselves because by doing this, because I think that they're gonna, and it's been stated that Secret Wars is in the works, possibly at Marvel from various places, and everybody's talking about it, and there's a lot of notable places. But it's interesting. I want definite confirmation, though, that they're going to do this. And I've already mentioned it before, that if they were to do a Secret Wars, the multiverse would interplay with this perfectly. Because, literally, within the one that came out 7 years ago, not the one that came out in 84 and 85, it's centered around God Doom, or Doctor Doom as playing like a god, because he was this one iteration of him like was able to gather all these people from various places into various battle worlds, and they're all heroes, and it's really cool and it's a great idea. But that works within the multiverse because you could pull different versions of, let's say, Captain America. So we could get Captain Carter and Captain America, or Old Cap. So they could always bring Chris Evans as Old Cap. Or let's say different versions of Wolverine. But, we don't know if Hugh Jackman is actually going to do anything like that. Or we get different versions of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Things of that nature. And where the worlds just collide and they're put on this battle world. If they actually do this, that would be amazing. But we all know that Doctor Doom is coming in eventually within the MCU, and I think he's going to be one of the big bads that are out there. We already know about Kang, and Kang is a time manipulator as it is, and they still have to introduce the Fantastic Four. But what I'm liking also is that with the Disney Plus that we're getting with What If, they could also introduce the Marvel zombies as well within that universe, because that played well within that comic run as well within it. And the trade paperback is out there, so if you guys that are listening are interested, you could always get that Secret Wars that's out there that's most recent. It's from 7 years ago, but it's just Secret Wars. You'll know it by the cover because you'll see two different versions. You'll probably still see the original 84-85 version in a trade paperback, but you could always pick up the new one, which is amazing. But that's my thoughts on that. Next up would be Jason and Kirk Manley. I actually mentioned it recently on House Podcast Go. We didn't get to it, but apparently Disney has severed all ties with Scarlett Johansson based upon the lawsuit. So she was supposed to do the Tower of Terror as a movie, which is an old IP and an old amusement park ride.
Yeah.
But they ended all that, and they have severed everything, so everything is in litigation. So she's not going to be involved with Marvel in any way.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man. My opinion on that, I think they kind of did her dirty because
they did.
Because all the rest of the movies they've already said are not going to be released that way. They're going to release them exclusively in theaters. So the fact that they singled out hers to be released both streaming and in theaters is just a slap.
It was a slap to the face, and honestly, my feeling is pay the woman.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
Pay her for what she did, and it's worth it. And I think it's possible for her to come back. I think there is a possibility.
And I agree with Jason and Kirk. I don't know why they didn't just cut her a check, man. Just you've got billions, because I don't know what Disney's worth, but just cut her a check for 30 or 40 million.
It wasn't Kevin Feige that was it.
Oh yeah, no,
that
I
was
know.
involved. It was the new CEO of Disney at that point that's in charge of the parks and overall budgets. So his thought was like, just don't do it. And my feeling, I agree with them. Just cut the woman a check and get her involved, man.
Yeah. Got some podcast recommendations. I do have one that I didn't put in the notes, but I listened to Wander Lee's season 1 of Dr. Death, which is all about the guy in Dallas, Chris, I can't remember his last name, who ended up going to prison for life for elder abuse. If you watched the Hulu documentary series, I think it's like a 7 or 8 part documentary series on Hulu called Dr. Death with, gosh, why am I blanking on all these people's names? The guy from Dawson's Creek, Joshua Jackson. I got it.
Okay, yeah.
Joshua Jackson and Alan Baldwin. Yeah, the older one. Is it? Yeah, it's Alan. Alan Baldwin is just amazing. They're both, and it's got Christian Slater is in it. But if you watch the documentary, listen to this podcast, Dr. Death. It's 8 parts. They're all very short. They're like 30 minutes each, 30 or 40 minutes each, and they're really great. Gives you a lot of insight into if you find that documentary interesting. So Dr. Death on Wanderley.
Awesome. Well, for me, it would be Watched It in the 80s with Damien Vitale, and this last episode that came out was about the first Friday the 13th, so he launched it on Friday the 13th. We're covering this episode on August 19th, but he had our friend Jamie Dimick on, who you all have heard here on Panels of the Pixels podcast and when we covered Invincible. So I highly recommend that. She did awesome, and I thought it was great. She had a lot of information.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And as always, of course, we want to recommend Wilhelm. And that could be found here on the Next Level Podcast online network. So check that out as well with Ben Beck.
So for us, you can submit your feedback to our Facebook page, which is Panels to Pixels, which is facebook.com/Panels to Pixels. Obviously, if you're listening to us on your podcast player of choice. We can be heard on all the big ones and the little ones: Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, whatever podcast player of choice you choose. Give us a subscribe, a thumbs up, whatever it is on there. You can check out our website at panelstopixelspodcast.com. You can send us an email, panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panelstopixels1, the TO spelled out right in the middle, the number 1 @gmail.com. We have a YouTube channel, which is just Panels to Pixels Podcast. So check it out, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and just keep up with us every week here, at least for the future, for the next 7, I think this is 9 episodes of What If, is what they're saying. We'll be here every week, hopefully. God willing, the creek don't rise, as we used to say in the old days. We will be here with every episode of What If. So next week we will cover whatever the next episode is.
Exactly. And for those that are listening, that if you've gone to the Panels to Pixels podcast.com site, we are still under construction. I still need a little bit of time to work on it. We kind of changed locations and domains. So keep that in mind. I will probably be revamping it to give a little bit more.
Exciting.
So, find that out. I would say I would give it till October because I'm in the midst of moving, life changes, a whole bunch of things that are going on within my life, but I'm still doing this and we are still providing you with content, which I really want to do. So that the same goes with, well, where else can listeners hear us? Well, with me, you could also hear me on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network, and there we cover action films, adventure films, and suspense films. I just released earlier last week Planet of the Apes with Jerry. We had a great time with that. So next up would be Atomic Blonde with Wendy. I'm not sure exactly the release date, but just keep in touch here or keep in touch on the Adrenaline Cinema Podcast page on Facebook, and you'll be updated there, as well as the Pirate Core Entertainment Facebook page as well.
Very cool. And you will be able to hear me this week. I have set up a schedule. I will be on Wilhelm this week discussing American Badasses, war movies with Ben Beck right here on this network. So check that out this weekend. Wilhelm.
Awesome. So that was our coverage of What If T'Challa became Star-Lord, and that was our episode 157. I just want to thank all of you for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels, and we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.